Hey y'all, it's Anime Kim, and today I'm going to be reading the 4th episode of Dororo, and I gotta say, this episode was pretty lit. And while this episode kind of did show a few of the weaknesses of an episodic structure, because this episode tried to have like an emotional moment and it didn't feel super powerful, it was still a good episode regardless, and let me explain why now. I like how in this episode, you finally get to see Dororo actually challenged in this episode. And I like how this episode also shows some of his limitations in starting to get more human parts, because when Dororo gets into a fight against this man that's possessed by this Nihiru blade, that pretty much if you use it, you're pretty much possessed and you want to kill people constantly, and then Dororo gets slashed in the face, I like how at the very least it shows you that Dororo, he's not as say relentless as he was in the first few episodes. Now that he has to focus on some of his body parts, he can't just be all willy-nilly reckless style. So I kind of like that. It makes the episode feel much more tense now that we actually see blood spraying out of Hakimaru's face when he's fighting. So that was a plus about this episode. And then I like how it takes the realistic approach too, with Dororo getting a sense of touch, because when he's out in the rain, feeling the rain dropping all over his face, naturally, since last week he wanted to feel the touch of heat, now he's wanting to feel the sensation of cold. And I like that. It's a nice progression of his character, getting used to his senses slowly. So all these were nice elements about this show. And then I gotta say, the fight choreography between Hakimaru and the man possessing this demon blade, those scenes were pretty nice. But this is like the only downside about this episode. It kind of felt like it was going for emotional touch, but it kind of lacked the impact, because you get introduced to this man that left his home. And he left his sister to fight in a war. Then he comes back and changed because of a demon blade. I kind of wish that this episode would have been done in like, say, 2 or 3 episodes, just to get a feel more for the boy that had to go through war. I mean, not the boy, the individual that had to go through a war. And then so that when he fights Dororo, it feels a slight bit sadder. I'd say that's the only thing, because this episode kind of felt like it was going for an emotional impact, but it didn't have any. But nevertheless, the fight scenes were entertaining at the very least. They were tense, and Hakimaru had to improvise in a few instances, like when he had to use his leg prop as like a way to like block the man's blade and get a hit in. But that was the first fight, and it ended off kind of like a stalemate. And I like how in that sequence it showed Dororo his usefulness when he gave the prosthetic leg back to Hakimaru. So I kind of like how this episode had elements of doing things like making Dororo useful. And then the second half, when they get into the fight and he fights that man again when he's possessed with the demon blade, I like how Hakimaru takes it more seriously, but it's forced in a situation where he has to kill the man because there's no other choice. And then it leads off to at least a sad scene where he gets his hearing back, because that blade was like a demon inside it, so he gets his hearing back. And I do like the tragical moment where the first thing he hears is the crying of a woman who most likely her brother was killed by Hakimaru, but Hakimaru had no choice due to self-defense. So I do think the finale of the episode was a great thing. Definitely. For sure. Definitely made me feel Hakimaru, because naturally a nicer thing for him to hear would have been Dororo talking to him or something like that. But hearing crying just makes this show feel more tragic in a good way. So I did like the end portion of this episode. I'd say the only thing is, like, we don't see what happens to the sister of the brother near the end of the episode. I kind of wish they would have revealed more information on that, since they were giving emphasis specifically on this episode. But this episode's still great regardless, because we made progression on Hakimaru. He's getting more of his senses, he's getting used to it, we're seeing some of the limitations, you see him physically tested, And the fight scenes were good, and I gotta say it made for an overall satisfying episode, and I'm gonna give it a score of an 8.5 out of 10. It was still a great episode regardless, and I'm definitely pumped up to see more, especially when they show that piece of shit father near the end. Man, oh man, I want to see him. So anyways, these are my thoughts on the episode. Comment down your thoughts on the episode below in the comment section. Rate the video, subscribe if you want to see more reviews and reactions, and I'll see you guys later. Subscribe for more. Alright guys and gals, thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.